Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to Ed and Ken's mini podcast. Ken, how's it going today?
Going great. Welcome. And we got to talk about the hat, man. We got to talk about, first of all, big win for the Phillies last night in Colorado. They're really, they're on a nice little run, approaching first place. But what's unique about that hat?
This hat is my father. This is part of my inheritance. So this was my father's Phillies hat. He passed away in 2011. And I was cleaning out some old storage that I had in Philly last week or the week before. And this hat was there. I love it. Reminds me. I'm surprised it doesn't smell like Aqua de Silva.
I'll tell you what, I think that hat, that's not retro. I think that was original, like you got that hat back when the Phillies were that design. I'm thinking.
No doubt. I don't know when he got it, but I picked it up and I'm like, I never wear sports hats.
No?
No, I don't think so. It's always motivation, inspirational, or I still have to order. Well, you know what the P stands for, right?
Princeton, there we go.
There you go. I'm very specific with the type of hats that I wear, though. They have to have a certain band. This is actually a little too curved. I like the Richardson 112 trucker hat.
For all you realtors and clients out there, the Richardson 112 trucker. Yeah. That's what you get, Ed, for his birthday. The Richardson 112 trucker. That's very specific, Ed. You really do put a lot of thought into your hats.
It's very important. It's part of my brand.
That's right. That's right. One of the 5 Bs.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah.
I like
part
it.
Of the B5 method. Yeah. We got a lot to talk about today. All right. So I call you the mortgage architect. And lately I've been talking, there is theory and then there's reality. Theory is just BS. It's just a theory. So you hear other loan officers, other mortgage companies say, we can handle anything. No, they can't. So you told me a story about a client that came to you 11 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, man. It's really cool.
Well, it's great that we're having this conversation on the heels of one of our previous conversations around late stage declines. Like what is it? Like, why does a file get so close to the finish line and then fall apart? And one of the things with this particular borrower, he called us on the 9th of May, and he had as his story goes, that the company he was working with just wasn't getting back to him, and really the service wasn't great. And he's supposed to close on the 16th, and he's just he needs to switch gears. Now that was a red flag from the gate, because you're not a week from settlement and switching gears because you're upset with how you're being treated. Now, doesn't mean that how you're being treated is not important, but that's usually not the case. But I took a look at his file and I said, look, I don't see any reason why this loan doesn't get approved. But what he was missing, and I think what the other company missed, was the fact that he had a tax lien. And with FHA, he also was discharged out of bankruptcy, so there was a bankruptcy history there. But with FHA, a tax lien automatically downgrades the file to a manual underwrite. What that means is no longer can you just follow the findings of the automated underwriting system, like, hey, this loan's approved, go get your W-2s, your pay stubs, your bank statements, and you're good to go. With this, you actually have to follow much stricter guidelines. And most mortgage companies, believe it or not, do not do manual underwrites. And the one that he was working with did not do manual underwrites. It was a credit union, they had very tight credit boxes, and there was just no way that loan was going to get done where it was. But that's a tax lien is not something that you find out about the last second, right? So that's something that's just a misguideline, a misinterpretation of the guideline. Now, fortunately, between myself, Andrew, and my processor, Maureen, on this one, we were able to get the loan re-underwritten fully approved, and we're ready to go to closing on Thursday. Now, it was not any, like, aside from the tax, and again, we're talking about tax liens, we're talking about 2 judgments, a bankruptcy history, discharge papers. There's a lot of moving parts to this transaction, but the fact that we're able to turn around and get it closed on the 22nd, that's a huge win for us and for my team, and I'm pretty happy with it. And it's an indication. And what's even crazier is that it wasn't that stressful. Like, you might think, like, hey, we're going to get you to the settlement table, but your life's going to be miserable for the next 7 days. It really wasn't. It wasn't stressful for us. It wasn't stressful for him. It was just we had to reprioritize a couple things on a couple people's desks, but we were able to get it done. And that's the difference. If you're a real estate agent out there and you're working with a referral partner, you want to work with the ones that are able to handle the difficult transactions and the easy, because there's some transactions that are relatively easy, but they should all be smooth. Whether it's a difficult, a lot of moving parts, or it's an easy transaction, they should all be smooth. And I think that the expectation management is the key. The listing agent, a buyer agent, called me. He just found out that he switched mortgage companies. He called me on Monday, and he says, "Hey, Ken, just want to make sure we're going to be good to go closing this thing on Thursday." And I said, "Look, I'm not here to lie to you. We're not closing on Thursday. Like, we're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done, next week. But for me to tell you that we're even going to, oh yeah, we're going to do it, like, it's just, you have to know how long things take. You have to know what you're capable of, because the second you overpromise, this could have turned from a win into a back-to-back losses for this borrower if we mismanage the expectations, So it's not just about execution. It's also about expectation management.
What is the difference maker? And I have jumped into the mortgage arm of the real estate business probably 2 years ago, just digging around going, okay, how does this work? The difference between you and you with Princeton and others, you just mentioned this deal and you went, yeah, me, and you literally named 2 or 3 other people.
Mm-hmm. Andrew and Maureen.
The team, like you are an architect in your lane. They are an architect in their lane. And together, number one, you tell the truth. You face reality. You interrogate reality and face the truth. My experience has been, what I've learned is it's not about just the loan officer. It's about the team behind them. And that's not cliche stuff. That's what makes you guys special. And that's why I get raving responses from the clients that work with you guys. And it's really cool.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And it's when people talk about value, there's so much more to value than, for some reason, that word gets tied to money. Right? In our culture, value is tied to money. And there's so much more to the value proposition than money. Although it's what we sell money. So if we're not taking money into consideration, we're doing something wrong. But if you, as a differentiator, if you want to go out there, you really want to separate yourself from the pack as far as the other loan officers go, then you need to have that. You need to have more than just rate. You have to be able to execute and bring value in other areas. Otherwise, you really are commoditized. And honestly, the folks that focus just on rate, it's lazy. That's what it is. Yes, we have great rates, but if I focus just on rate, I could probably work about 15 hours less per week. But I wouldn't be building the annuity of referral partners that I have. I would just be executing on rate and winning the deals that come along. But it's not a growth strategy. And the same goes for real estate agents, right? I mean, if you think about brokerages, right? What broker? We were having this conversation earlier. Brokerages, what value proposition is the brokerage bringing to the realtor? Because if it's just money, that's a problem, right? But if you ignore money, that's a problem, right? So what should real estate agents be looking at when they're trying to decide which brokerage to use with regard to the value proposition?
Yeah. And that's really simple. And I've been honing in on this. And the value, like anything, has changed. Just like the consumer used to look for different values from the real estate agent because they didn't have the information, right? So they needed the real estate agent. Now they don't need the real estate agent for the information. Their perception is they have the correct information. They may or may not have it, but in their minds, they have it. So we've had to completely change how we collaborate on a listing appointment rather than here's the information, this is where you're going to list your house. And it blows my mind that there's still real estate agents that go into a listing presentation like the know-all, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm your trusted advisor. It's like, oh my gosh, that went out in the 80s. But I look at it as, and I help agents, I call it a business audit. It's very simple. The two biggest expenses for a real estate agent or a real estate team are their taxes and what they pay their broker. And today, in today's world, there's only so much value that any brokerage can offer their agent because it's accessible everywhere, right? So here is a few staples that are out, that one staple that's outdated. If you're with a company that charges you a royalty or franchise fee, now here's the scary part. A lot of agents don't even know that they're paying this. They just get their commission check and they don't realize that they're paying a 6% royalty or franchise fee. It is 2025. First of all, real estate agents don't need brokerages anymore. It's legally, we have to hang our license at a brokerage, but we don't need them anymore. So the royalty and franchise fee, and I've helped many agents just in the last year, that needs to be negotiated out of your split, man. There is no value, zero, 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 zero value in me paying a 6% royalty fee. And it doesn't matter if that royalty or franchise fee is capped or uncapped. It's frightening.
So but is that something you can negotiate?
You can negotiate everything. Yeah. So most agents will say, oh, well, I actually just did the numbers here. I'm on an 85-15. No, you're actually on a 79-21. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
79-21. Because of a 6% royalty. And I'm going to get back to these numbers real quick. I'll do a real situation of an agent that I recently recruited. So negotiate that out. Of course, the broker owner or the team leader is going to go, no, that's what funds your great website. All the websites are the same. Basically, they're all the same. It does nothing. I'm just telling the truth. And by the way, I've been in the boardrooms of almost every major company. Like I got a little bit of experience here. So yes, take it out. I've had it done with other agents. Number two, if you're with a company that has a cap, the cap should be no more than $18,000 a year. And that's like a conversation of like, okay, well, what do you get for that? And what are all the bells and whistles and blah, 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 blah. But just in general, shouldn't be more than 18,000. And by the way, like there's companies that because you hang your license in Manhattan, your cap's 63,000. That's BS now. That doesn't fly anymore.
So the caps and a lot of the caps are market based.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's BS. So negotiate your royalty, negotiate your cap. And by the way, there's again, I'm the pop of like, if just reach out to me, I'll help work this out for you. I love it. And by the way, this isn't like, let's flex our muscles. This is fair market value. A real estate agent wouldn't sell a $300,000 home for $200,000, right? So why would you do that with your own money? And the last thing is, if you're not with a cap company, get with a cap company, a company that has a cap. Here's the latest victim, I call it. $10 million producer, 85-15 split. When I tell you 85-15, Ken, I'm guessing thought bubble goes, oh, I'm only paying 15% to the broker. That's pretty fair. You've been into business over 20 years like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
We still have old thinking, like, oh, 85-15. Here's the deal. Number one, it's a 79-21 because they were with a 6% royalty company for 20 years. 20 years.
And they were with that company for 20 years, a long time.
They've done more than 10 million a year. That difference, like I could literally lead them to 3 different companies where they would pay nothing to the company because of title, rev share, that all the things that every agent should be getting right now, because that's fair market value. The difference is $63,000 a year. You ready for this? She cried when I showed her this. 20 years, $1.2 million she would have in the bank right now. You're a finance guy, dude. 20 years at 8% in any Vanguard account. Not any Vanguard account, but a Vanguard account. 8 to 10% average.
Yeah, the compounding effect is undeniable.
I'm guessing that's going to end up around $3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do people I can see why someone might go to that model early on in their career, need a lot of support, need a lot of hand holding, need a lot of training.
Yep.
Now you're out, you're doing your thing.
Why
do people hold on?
This is not a number one, my intent here is to not hurt any company. My intent is to make sure my tribe gets paid fair market value. Why real estate agents don't do that? It's simply this. Most real estate agents are salespeople. They're not business people. And when you're a salesperson, you don't look at the net. Their brain just doesn't work that way. It works perfect, but that's the difference between a salesperson and a business person.
You know what's funny, Ed? Coming full circle to where we first started, I think that's the struggle for a lot of loan officers in a weird, different way, because they are salespeople. And they would rather, because it costs money to have an Andrew, it costs money to have top-tier processors on your team, they would rather keep the money for themselves and instead of investing in the pieces of their business that can help them scale and operate with more efficiency and create structure and allow themselves to live a life, have a business worth owning and a life worth living. So it's kind of weird, but again, they're salespeople. They're just looking at like, how much am I getting paid? And they're not looking at like, all right, my investment in this person. I'm not saying like, it's a thing that's going to hold a lot of people back. And in your analogies or in your stories, if this agent had access to that additional money, they could have invested it, maybe not in Vanguard, maybe they could have invested it in teammates that could have helped them scale. And that's the real missed opportunity.
Yeah. Now I know we're running out of time here, but just imagine if that money is reinvested in real estate. Imagine if that money was reinvested in leads. You're literally 10xing that number.
Sure.
And that's what I like to help agents look at. Is okay, what if you took that $5,000 and invested it in this? I met with a guy back when I was back in PA. One of the coolest things I've ever heard in my life. He said, Eddie, people from PA still call me Eddie. Eddie, I became a millionaire at 30 and I never made over $30,000 a year through real estate. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Never made over $30,000.
That's the tortoise and the hare right there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right. We did talk long. I know that there's another topic we want to touch on. So let's get to that real quick. So this is going to be an action item. So if you're still here at 20 minutes and 18 seconds in, God bless you. You're about to get some real gold here.
Again, just because I coach agents and teams from not every major brand and independent brand, but a lot of them, I have access to the greatest minds. And one of my agent partners, now I'm going to hesitate before I say this, because as soon as I say this word, most people listening are going to go, oh, I tried that. That doesn't work. So just hear the whole thing. Take a deep breath. It's Google local ads, not Google ads, Google local ads. For the sake of time, here are his rough numbers. Just testing the market. Invested roughly $600. Got 18 leads. 9 of those leads closed.
That's a huge conversion ratio. Humongous.
If I can, and he has given me permission that any agent that wants to see how he did it, this is one of those little secrets, the little things that when you're in the right rooms, you go, wait a minute. Wow, that's easy. That's easy.
I love it.
Google local ads.
So here's the action. Your action item is that everyone should check out Google local ads next week. I think we're going to get into it a little more in depth. But my action item for the week is I re-listened to our Selling the Dream podcast with Mike Schroka this morning on my way to an appointment. And for the agents out there, it's a good one. So we will we'll put the link to the Selling the Dream podcast with Mike Schroka in the comments. And once this goes on Facebook, that's my action item for the week. He's a top producing agent and obviously introduced us, and this guy's killing it, and you'll get a ton of value out of it. So
he's another one that I've learned so much from about the way he trains his agents to work with investors. By the way, I think they've got 5 or 6 millionaires on their team through investing.
Unbelievable. It's awesome.
That's another thing your company's got to be teaching is real estate investing. It's awesome. Dude, great job. I love working with you. I love your team. Amazing, man.
Appreciate you, man. I love this day. This half hour. They're turning into half-hour shows, by the way. Yep. The whole 15-minute thing has been gone for a while. But either way, man, I'll catch up with you next week.
All right, brother.